Sight reading is a skill that can be developed. It just takes consistent practice, like 10% of your practice time. Turn on a metronome at a moderate tempo and just pick a page and start reading through whatever it is that you're working on. Once you get through this book, cool, you got another book. Read through the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So spend time every single day going through whatever material it is that you want to work on. This will help you become a better performer because you're going to be learning different types of repertoire. It'll also help you figure out some new music that you might want to play, like as different solos. And it's also going to help you become a better writer because you'll learn like different rhythmic combinations or different melodic combinations or chord combinations. And you'll go, oh, that was really interesting. Let me take note of that, and I can come back to this later and maybe learn this and dive deeper into whatever it is that you sight read through. When you are sight reading, you're going to set like the metronome and you're going to just read through it. Doesn't matter how much you make a mistake, you're just going to keep going and ignore all the mistakes that you make whenever you are practicing that sight reading. One time in college, there was somebody who didn't show up to play like a major snare part for a concert piece. It was basically like a snare solo. They're like, hey, Jared, can you sight read this? Being able to go up there and just like, all right, here's a complicated snare part and sight read it, and I have the confidence to be able to do that was because I spent time every single practice session just reading. Do I have any warm-ups on the site? I'm not laughing at you. Yes, I have over 1,000, literally, for free. There's 55 chop exercises here, 386 triplet grid variations, 533 16th note grid variations. There's over 100 timing exercises. There's 55 drum charts, 267 marching bass stuff. There's gonna be 250 technique exercises. I've got 10 that are like waiting in drafts that I need to schedule for release. And then there's like all the drumming tips and stuff. So literally over 1,000 free exercises. If you don't want to go to my website, this is where it's organized neatly, but I understand some people just prefer to stay on platform. If you go to my home tab of YouTube, it has it organized here where you can just click on the drumming content header and it shows you just the playlist for this. If you go into any one of these play alongs, the reason why they are multiple hours long is because when you click on it, you go into the timestamps and it has BPMs with timestamps. So this one starts at 20 beats a minute and it goes all the way up to 160 beats a minute, every single click in between. So if you wanted to like practice this at 77 beats a minute, then boom, you click on it and then it starts tapping you off. I've talked for many videos about how important it is to spend a significant amount of your time practicing slow, but exactly how much of it is like 90% of your time? A general framework that I might recommend for you is to spend about 60% of your time slowing things down, and then 30% of your time playing around performance tempo, and then 10% of your time playing faster than you actually can play with proper technique and sound quality and whatnot. So if you're playing one of these exercises, there's like 1,000 of them for free on my website. A lot of these go down if they're triplet to as slow as 40 beats a minute, and the 16th note go as slow as like 20. Maybe start at 40 beats a minute and just go up one click at a time with these play alongs and spend about 60% of your practice time working on that. Then if your performance tempo is like around 120, maybe start at like 110 and spend 30% of your time working it up to like 120, maybe 125. And then the last 10% of your time, jump even higher than what you're comfortable doing and like really try and push your hands to play whatever it is faster. That will train your hands and your brain to play and think faster than you currently can, but just don't spend all of your time doing that. You can end up injuring yourself if you're really tight in your technique and things like that. Focus on playing nice and relaxed, nice and controlled, but really refine the technique by playing slow. And it'll also help you to play more in time because when you're playing something slow, the space in between each one of the notes is much wider, so you have more room for air. So if you can get it to sound good slow, then it's going to sound significantly better fast. Marching is difficult for percussionists because you need to go to like a field where nobody's going to be annoyed and you need to be able to check out the drums. So if you are trying to improve and you have an actual drum, you can go through drill exercises where it's like, I'm going to play basic stuff like chicken and a roll or just like triplet diddle or accent tap exercises, and I'm going to move forward 8, move backwards 8, and I'm just going to keep repeating that over and over, and then maybe do it in like a plus sign drill or like a diamond drill or a box drill. On the other end of the continuum, you often see a lot of like horn lines where while they're in the lot, change their body position and like do like step offs. They are trying to visualize what their drill is while they are working on the music. You can do the same thing with drumline, but it's not as effective. About as effective as like 80% if you do it really well. But that's if you do it really well. In the middle, if you can't take your drums home, is you can actually practice it while playing like this without your drums on. It's going to give you a different like balance and a different weight, but it can make it so that it's more lifelike, more realistic than if you are just trying to visualize things. So you can go through all of the basic stuff of doing the different box drill, plus sign drill, etc., but play it like this, where you're playing on the underside of your forearms. If you do traditional, you can play like this. This does not feel good, so don't play very loud. You can also play without sticks. Practice doing this. If you work on wrist technique, then this is a great way to work on stuff. So you can move while you're basically drumming on your chest, on your stomach, on your forearms, etc., and try and get as close to drumming while moving as possible. How do you lower your taps while keeping your accents nice and relaxed? Underneath the technique exercises, there's a playlist here that's accent tap variations. Quite a few different exercises in here. Accent relaxer, and then at the bottom, there's the tap relaxer. You're starting off at 3-inch tap. You could do this alternating, you just do it on one hand. The next measure, you have the 4-inch accents and 3-inch taps, and then 6, 9, and then 12. And then it goes back down again. So 9, 6, 4, and then 3-inch taps. Accent relaxer is the opposite of this. So that exercise, you're starting off at 12 inches for the height. And then you're going to have a 12-inch accent and 11-inch tap. And then 12 and 9, 12 and 6, 12 and 3, and then it goes back up for the tap, slowly raising each one of the measures. These are excellent exercises for working on being able to control your tap height. Accent, accent, tap, tap. That version works on all 4 stroke types, which is, this is one stroke where it starts up, ends up. This is another stroke where it starts up and ends down. You're just stopping your wrist. This is another stroke where it starts down and ends down. And then the last one is where it starts down and ends up, because you're getting ready for an accent stroke. So you're pulling it back up. Another good way that you can work on your accents and taps are doing the downstroke grid variations and the upstroke grid variations, especially if you want to work on your inverts and whatnot. The upstroke versions of grid variations are great ways to work on this. And again, this is under the accent tap exercises, which is found all the way underneath the technique here. And it's the accent tap variations, this playlist right there. 2 issues to work on with speeding up paradiddles. One is a mental framing of it, and then the other thing is a hand issue. So instead of thinking of paradiddle as paradiddle, paradiddle, right, left, right, left, right, left. Your brain is going to slow down at some point, right, left, right, left, left, right, where you're not able to think about it. So what I'm doing when I get faster is I'm thinking right, left, 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 right, left. Retrain your brain to think of the chunk of rudiment rather than the individual notes. And that'll make it so you can play any rudiment faster because you're thinking of one group rather than a series of individual notes. But for hand issues, underneath the technique exercises, paradiddle zoom zoom. My wife named it. I think it's hilarious. The fastest that you can play your measure to, you'll never be able to play a paradiddle faster. Same thing for right here, which is the first half of it. The fastest you can play these hertas is the fastest that you can play your paradiddle. So this exercise, again, is called paradiddle zoom zoom, and it is a great way to work on your paradiddles. The way that I actually got better at writing is by reading a lot, and then using things as inspiration and going, okay, how could I write a solo in the style of Scott Johnson's exercises, or in the style of Jeff Queen's tribute, or in the style of the tenor part for Cheesy Poofs, or whatever it is that you're interested in. And just use that to kind of expand your repertoire slowly, and just know that whatever you write today is gonna be something that you'll laugh at 5 years from now, because you just will hopefully get better every single time you write stuff. So don't beat yourself up if you're like, oh, this doesn't sound cool. It's well, you learned something in the process, and you learned what doesn't work good or what doesn't sound good, and that's okay. That's a very valuable experience to have.